Kính chào toàn thể quý khán giả. Mời quý vị xem chương trình Thanh Thảo Show tuần này. Trong chương trình này, Thanh Thảo hân hạnh tiếp chuyện với Việt Cường, là một composer vừa mới cộng tác với lại Pacific Symphony. Nhưng anh có một cái quá trình làm việc rất là ngoạn mục, cũng như là hiện nay anh còn trình diễn ở rất nhiều nơi khác trên toàn quốc Hoa Kỳ cũng như nơi khác trên thế giới. Mời quý vị cùng theo dõi buổi nói chuyện của chúng tôi. Hello Việt Cường.
Hi.
It's nice to meet you here.
Oh, it's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to we can actually coordinate
Yes,
this
yes.
meeting.
Me too.
Can I ask you your full Vietnamese name? I know you go by Việt Cường, but Việt is your first name, Cường, and what's your last name?
Pham.
Oh, Pham. I see. So, but you go by Việt Cường.
Yes.
Why is that?
Well, my brother, his name is Nam, and
Nam.
but we always kept the last name as the first name here, so we're both Pham Quang. So we always went by our middle names. So I always went by Viet. And
I see.
Yeah.
So then, but what about why you dropped the Pham and along the way?
Well, it was really because on all of our, like going to school, our last name was technically Quang.
Oh, I see.
And so I just was always known as Viet Quang, and so I just kept that.
Until now too?
Yeah.
Okay, so because I heard Carl Sinclair, Maestro Carl Sinclair referring to you, Việt Cường, I said, why didn't he talk?
Yeah.
Say your last name.
Yeah,
you go by that.
Yes.
Okay, so going back to your root, can you tell the viewers how you came about loving and pursuing music?
Yeah, well, it started when I was really young. I was about 5 or 6, and my mom, who's an engineer, she recently retired, but she was an engineer, and she read that learning classical music could help stimulate the brain, and so she put me in piano lessons when I was about 5, and so I started on piano, but I didn't really like practicing the piano, but I liked to make things up at the piano, and so when I was very little, I would just kind of improvise melodies or chords and things like that, and those were kind of my first musical compositions.
I see.
And I wasn't very serious about piano, though, as you can see. But when I joined band in 6th grade, I played percussion and clarinet in band throughout high school as well. And that's why I really fell in love with music. It was really because I think, in addition to just liking the music itself, I really liked the community aspect of being in band in school. It was where I made my friends, and it was sort of my main extracurricular activity, aside from just my classes at school.
Yeah, you just said extracurriculum. So most Vietnamese American families would usually put their children to music schools just to play some instrument or singing as an extra activity. And then they would gear the children into some kind of career, such as lawyers, engineer like your mom, or some other professions. So when did you decide to just follow music and, just forgo the rest?
Yeah, well, like when I was in high school, there was a lot of conversations with my parents about what I would major in college or what career I would have. And the careers you mentioned, like doctor, engineer, I remember pharmacist was something we considered. And it was really because I chose music because there was nothing else I could imagine myself being happy doing.
I see.
It was just something I loved. And I couldn't say that about being a doctor per se. And so when it came time to choose where to go to college, I did apply to some normal schools in addition to music schools. Because, in high school I worked really hard.
Right.
In addition to working on music stuff, I did my best I could as just an academic student. I took all of the AP classes, got mostly all A's except for one class. And so it was because I wanted to, in case the music thing didn't work out, that I would have options.
I see.
But at the end of high school, I just decided I'm going to do this music thing. And I think my parents, at the very end, when I was kind of auditioning for schools, they saw how passionate I was about it. And they said, well, might as well try.
You're very fortunate.
Oh, I am.
Parents who understood you.
Oh, yes.
And let you follow your heart. Because I couldn't say that about others. And then when you actually went directly and professionally into music to learn and to become a musician for a career, was it very difficult? Have you ever felt that maybe I did the right thing or what?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very competitive field.
Yes.
Because I think any of the arts are like that.
Right,
because there's sort of limited opportunities and many more people than there are opportunities.
Right.
And so when I was in school, I remember, I'll say like when I grew up in Georgia, and I felt like sort of a big fish in a small pond, I guess.
I see.
And then when you get to music school, everyone was like the best musician from their hometown.
Right.
And so you start to see like, oh, there's so many talented people. And
so many big fishes.
Exactly. So many big fishes in a big pond. And so it was kind of an adjustment to make. And but I still, even through all of that, I still loved music. And I think that's what really showed me that I could kind of find my way, was that even when I felt there was a lot of, maybe competition, you could call it, or just and limited opportunities, I still didn't lose my love for music.
I see.
And that was what kept me going, I think. And I went through many degree programs at schools as well, and worked on my craft. And that's what I think why I'm here, is because I ended up writing music that I really believe in.
So you compose music, but what kind of instrument is that you love most and you practice most?
Yeah, I compose like music for many instruments. For many musical ensembles we consider classical music ensembles. So full orchestra. I also write for bands, like the bands that we play in high school and university and middle school.
What kind of band's that?
So it's like wind band, when you play like trumpet or clarinet in middle school or high school or college, like those sort of, it's like an orchestra without strings.
I see.
I also write what's called chamber music, which is smaller ensembles, so like string quartet, and also for solo instruments as well. And so I like composing for all of them. Since I do play clarinet and percussion, I do enjoy writing for clarinet and percussion.
So when I know that you, beside composing music, and you have some performance at a lot of places, what else you do to keep yourself so busy that it's very hard to schedule an appointment with you?
I teach at the University of Nevada in Las Vegas.
Oh, so you're a teacher too?
Yes, so I'm a professor there. Yeah. And there I teach music theory and composition.
Oh, how fun!
Yes.
So it came full circle.
Yes.
So you're training new musicians.
It is full circle because I went through, like I mentioned, I went to college, did a master's and a doctorate, and then also an additional artist diploma, all in music composition. And so now it's now I'm the one kind of helping to teach students, and it's been great.
You're very young for being, a professor at school, at university. Do you have any student coming to you and asking you for how or when you started? Maybe 4 years?
No,
5 years?
Yeah, I'm 32 now.
Still very young.
31. So I'm about to turn 32 in a couple months. But it is kind of an interesting place when you're a young professor and your students are obviously young as well. But
and some of them could be older.
Yeah, some of them could be, actually, that's true. But I think it's sort of interesting because as opposed to maybe some older professors who built their careers in a different time, I'm building my career right now and have built it the last 10 years. And so I think I have a different perspective on what it takes and what is necessary to build a career as a composer today.
Great. It's very good to know. And I'd like to ask you for one pivotal moment. I attended the Lunar New Year at Pacific Symphony last year, and you debuted with you debuted this year as a new composer. But last year there was a piece from you that I thought was very new, but also very it's a mixture of new and old that you compose, and Big Van was reciting a poem of it. Can you talk a bit about that piece?
Yes, so it's a piece I wrote originally for a small ensemble and a soprano.
Oh.
And so the Pacific Symphony essentially did a larger version of it for full orchestra. And it's a piece that sets my father's favorite poem. Yes. And it was a really great experience to write that because I learned Vietnamese as my first language when I was very young, and I forgot how to speak it. I think it's a common thing for many Vietnamese American people my age. And it was a way for me to reconnect with my heritage and my roots. And so I picked this poem with the help of my father that I think many Vietnamese people know and adore. And it was really fun to write the piece because Vietnamese is a tonal language, so the melody has to be set a certain way or else the word won't be the correct word. And so it was essentially almost like the piece felt like it was writing itself, which was really beautiful.
But I know now you joined Pacific Symphony as an in-house composer.
Yes.
So tell us about your feeling and how you think of going into one of the largest Vietnamese American community outside of Vietnam.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be the composer in residence for the Pacific Symphony because it's always been a dream of mine to write a lot of music for orchestra ever since I was little. And because when you write music for orchestra, it's amazing because there's so many people on stage and they're playing a piece of music that you wrote. And they have such a great community and an audience, and they're also embracing the many different parts of me as a composer. Because I write music for professional orchestras, but I also write music for like middle school, high school bands, and they actually have bands as a part of their organization for high school students. And so I'll get to work with the orchestra in many different ways over the next several years. And I'll get to write music for them, and they'll play some of my older music, which they're starting their season in September with a piece of mine. So it's very exciting.
Could you talk a bit about that piece?
Yes, so that piece is a concerto for percussion quartet. So usually when you see a concerto, it'll be
violin.
Yeah, a violin or pianist or a cellist sometimes. It's usually one soloist in front of the orchestra, and the piece is about featuring them as a dazzling, virtuosic soloist. And so this piece, it does that, but it's for 4 people who are in front of the orchestra, and they're percussionists. And the piece is inspired by renewable energy. And so there are 3 movements, one about water, one about wind, and one about solar power. And the 4 soloists essentially act as one soloist, and they play many different instruments that I think people will be intrigued by.
What made you think of that theme?
Yeah, it was a piece that I wrote 5 years ago. And it was sort of this, I wrote it for an orchestra on the East Coast, the Albany Symphony in upstate New York. And they're near General Electric. And General Electric has renewable energy, sort of a division of the company, and they wanted to kind of partner with the orchestra.
Oh, so could you be like futuristic too? Because we go into renewable energy, and that's the way to go.
Yes,
right?
yes, and the piece is called Renewal. So it's also about sort of a renewal of the way we think about things. And the piece is also about working together because it's 4 soloists who are working together to sound like one soloist, like one extremely good soloist with the talent of 4 people. So that's another theme of the piece as well.
I see. So I'm excited to attend that.
Oh, me too.
That performance.
Yes.
And it's going to be on what? September?
I don't remember the exact date, but it's the first concert of the season.
Of the season?
Yes.
In September?
Yes.
And the audience, if you would like to attend and listen to the very new composed music from VIệT Cảo, please check pacificsymphony.org to find a date and get tickets. Going back to you and the community, the Vietnamese American community here, you were, like I said, you were lucky that your parents loved you enough to see your desire, your love, your passion, and let you follow. For the audience here watching this show, with children who may or may not have the talent, what would you like to tell them?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that. See how I say this correctly, or in a. I would say that first, if you're young and you want to follow music or some other passion of yours, first, just work really hard at it, because one way to convince your parents of something is to show how much you love it and how hard you're willing to work to make a career in that.
I see.
And then also, I think it's important too, if as a child or as with your parents, to think about why they want you to do a certain career.
I see.
I remember thinking like, well, why do my parents want me to be a pharmacist? It's because they love me and they want me to
have a secure future.
Have a secure future, exactly. They want they want me to be able to make a living and to not have as hard of a time as they had when they first came here.
This is a struggle. Artists, they always said struggling or starving artists.
Yes, yes.
Right, so it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's difficult life.
So it's good to have kind of understanding of why your parents want this for you. But also, if you show that you're willing to put in the work and that you're disciplined to follow your dreams, and then I think that's really the way that I convinced my parents.
I see.
They saw that I had the passion for it, that I was so willing to work harder than it would have been maybe to be a doctor, actually, to be a composer. Then they knew that, well, it's worth a shot. So that's the advice I would give.
Thank you so much for your time and your advice to the Vietnamese American community, the parents who have children who really love music. And you also worked very hard. So if things didn't go through with music, you still had a lot of opportunities to go into regular academic schools, right?
And there are things also you learn doing music that
applicable to academic.
That can transfer over to so many other things.
Yes.
And I mean, and you're a musician as well. You know how much musicians strive for perfection.
Yes.
Think of other fields where perfection is that important. Because there are a lot of things where it's like, it's good to be close, but if you're not perfect, it's okay. But music, it's the goal.
It's the practice not to be right, but you cannot do wrong.
Yeah,
right?
Yes,
you
yes.
practice to that part.
And so it teaches you things like that are very unique to music. So,
Right.
Yes.
So I'm very glad for your advancement in your career, where you would love to have your music played by orchestras, and now you have joined Pacific Symphony. And you also have performance and other work outside of it.
Oh, yes.
You're also a professor.
Yes.
So you have a fulfilled life.
Oh, yes.
And so I'm very glad to see that you are successful, and I wish you the best of luck. And I'll be watching you, watching your performance and looking, hopefully that you will achieve even better and bigger goals in life.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
So I'll see you at the Pacific Symphony performance opening the season.
Yes, I will see you there. Hope to see you there too.
Sure, thank you so much. Thưa quý vị, vừa rồi là phần nói chuyện với composer Việt Cường. Và Việt Cường hiện nay đã là một composer hợp tác với Pacific Symphony. Nếu quý vị yêu thích những cái nhạc phẩm mà Việt Cường sáng tác, quý vị có thể vào pacificsymphony.org để tìm những cái chương trình và mua vé. Và Thanh Thảo hẹn gặp lại quý vị trong các chương trình khác. Xin kính chào tạm biệt.
Nếu quý vị thích xem những chương trình này, xin nhấn vào nút subscribe để có được các thông tin và phóng sự mới nhất từ VIệtFace TV.